This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube. Someone saying I have a daily news update. Started off by saying that somebody says Nickomania is gonna run wild, and that is referring to Nick Hogan being spotted at the WWE Performance Center this week. Yeah, he's almost 40, if not 40 already, and hasn't shown any interest in wrestling, but he's the closest thing we have left to Hulk Hogan. And apparently the estate that was left to both Nick and the widow, Sky Hogan, of Hulk Hogan. So I guess WWE has had him at the Performance Center. I really have zero desire to see Nick Hogan wrestle. A guy that's been spoiled all of his life, but they're getting to the point where they're having real problems creating new stars, so I guess they're willing to try anything. But he was spotted this week at the Performance Center. Of course, Hogan passed away at only 71 last July. The official cause of death was complications following neck surgery, not the lie that Ric Flair said. Ric Flair tried to create a lie and said it was street drugs because he's an asshole. That was confirmed to be false. Hulk Hogan's mansion is currently up for sale for $10,989,000, just under 11,000. Apparently on Raw this week, there was only 3 matches on the 2-hour show. Last week's Raw did not make the Netflix top 10 again. And I did actually listen to Lance Storm's review of Raw. And I have to agree with him on this. He said he had to turn off at the point where the fans singing the entrance songs were becoming too much. He had to turn it off recently because he can't stand these 45, 50-year-old fat guys singing the wrestlers' songs, which people, there's the definition of how uncool wrestling is these days. The hot girls are gone from the crowds. It's not little kids for the most part watching anymore. It's men who grew up with wrestling when it used to be far more popular watching it, and they love to sing the entrance songs. And apparently WWE has been told if the fans start singing it, try and milk it as long as possible. But us as viewers, we don't want to watch that. It's the same as those, maybe it's because I'm Canadian, but I hate it when they have like WWE in Europe and they're singing over everything. And they're getting so excited, and it's like almost like they're coming just to watch normal wrestling things because they haven't seen it live or something, and they start singing like soccer chants and stuff, and it's like, really? What is wrong with you guys? Are you that deprived? Here's something interesting. CM Punk did an interview with GQ, and he buried the hatchet with Paul Levesque, and I guess he was asked what made him bury the hatchet with Paul Levesque after he was served his termination papers on his wedding day and so forth after his last WWE run. And his official response was, life is too short to hold grudges, blah, blah, blah. He didn't want to end up a bitter person like Brett or Warrior and so forth. But here's the truth of the matter. A billionaire, a guy whose father actually is a multi-billionaire, Tony Khan, the son of Nick Khan, created a company. Put it this way. Here's the truth of the matter, guys. WWE was never going to give CM Punk another opportunity. They weren't. But AEW, a spoiled rich kid's company, put CM Punk on the map again because he had hard feelings. So he got over, and the heat that he had backstage in AEW pissed him off so much that when he was fired from AEW, it was almost like, well, now I got to go prove myself. And also AEW gave him such a push that he had proved that he could still have value, so WWE gave him another chance. I truly don't. Maybe eventually, if WWE kept being as desperate for stars, they would have. But I don't think, and you guys can tell me in the comments, if it wasn't for AEW, I don't think CM Punk would be back in a top position that he has right now. Because they hated him. Vince and Triple H hated him. And it was AEW that had to almost beg him to come back and give him a ridiculous amount of money, which led to him getting a ridiculous amount of money and a really good position back in WWE. And then they buried the hatchet because they both hated Tony Khan more than they hated each other at that point. So that's the truth of the matter. Cody Rhodes is still going around doing interviews saying he wants to see more house shows. Yes, the wrestler that has his own bus, doesn't have to share dressing rooms or anything, and gets driven around in a bus, wants more house shows, right? And I think they need more house shows too, because there's tons of botches in wrestling, and the wrestlers need more experience, because most of the wrestlers today aren't that experienced, and the ones that have experience, like AJ Styles, have retired. And I have something funny to tell you guys about AJ Styles after. Funny little story to tell you. But Cody's saying he'd like to have house shows 1 weekend a month. Here is the thing. The house shows aren't drawing enough money. They don't want to do them because they can't draw money. The fact of the matter is, the TV shows are happening because they're paid. They get ridiculous amounts of money from the TV stations, and the cities are giving them money. And yes, they haven't come to Ottawa in like 2 years now. They haven't come to Wichita even. They didn't come to Wichita at all last year. It used to be a main stop. This year, NXT is coming to Wichita with tickets as expensive as $137 for the farm team. They want people to pay. I don't even know any of these people, any of these wrestlers. The tickets for this are $137. So I just truly don't think that they could do house shows and draw any type of a gate with their main roster stars. It would just be a huge loss of money. With the NXT, it doesn't matter if they have small crowds. And from what I understand, a lot of the NXT house shows get like 100 people. That's the truth of the matter, from what I understand. The TV tapings, I don't even think they charge for the in-town TV tapings, and the NXT house shows don't draw. So the other thing is, I watched the Bellas interview, and I'm going to get into the AEW news later, but I watched the Bellas interview with Logan Paul. And my God, it's like his show was better before all these WWE interviews. Because I mentioned AJ Styles. Okay, here's something insulting Logan Paul said about AJ Styles, and it's just because he's clueless. This is how clueless he is about wrestling. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand why wrestling fans like wrestlers or what can make a wrestler a legend, okay? Even though I beat AJ Styles 2 times in one night when he was New Japan champion back in 2014, before he was ever in WWE, Logan Paul made a comment on his podcast with the Bellas. Well, AJ Styles retired after only being in the WWE 10 years. Well, I've been in the WWE 5 years. So why don't I get more respect as a wrestler? He's clueless. AJ Styles has been wrestling, I think, since WCW closed. Because I think he may have even had, around the time the WCW was closing, I forget if he actually had a contract or was getting like talks. But he was around during the time of WCW closed, did Japan, did TNA, was a draw in the indies. Logan Paul, well, he's had big matches. He has very practiced, choreographed matches. He does not even understand why kayfabe is important. He's a draw because he's famous from his own show. And he did the boxing stuff. And yes, I don't deny it, but he's not. Well, he can perform fancy choreographed moves. As a wrestler, he doesn't make me suspend my disbelief. And they even talked to the Bellas about the kayfabe being dead in this podcast. Logan Paul and the Bellas don't think it makes a difference. I posted a clip today, actually, of Bobby Heenan from an interview I bought the rights to. Bobby Heenan said, when the cat's out of the bag and they shove it in our face that it's fake every week, why even watch? Why watch? Because it's like you're constantly reminding us. There's hugs every week. And here's something I wanted to put up. Vince Russo said something about like Unreal, Triple H hugging all the women. I noticed that from Unreal too. Granted, he hugs the guys too backstage, but Russo's bringing up like, here's a woman actually like straddling Triple H. And I'm sorry, it's like they present an image that wrestlers are such geeks. Oh, let's hug, let's cry after every match. It's not like that everywhere. You probably can figure it out. I'm not a hugger. I am not a hugger. I've never hugged, to my knowledge. If it's happened, maybe it may have happened at some point. I can't remember ever hugging any of my opponents or hugging my boss, ever. And maybe that's why I don't have a job, because I'm not that type of person, and maybe that's the type of people that they like. But I do find it so uncool, and maybe it's just my taste. Oh, we just wrestled, let's hug. Like, that is so just cheesy, and that's where Unreal is bad. It's interesting that they show that. And this is what they talked about with the Bellas and Logan Paul. Yes, it's interesting to see the behind the scenes, but Unreal season 2 is not doing as well as season 1. But as interesting as it is to see how it's all done, it does not make me at all want to watch the product. It makes me think, oh my God, these people really need their matches choreographed like this, and they're really such babies, and they really plan every single punch, and if they don't do it, they get in trouble. Like, to me, in the end, that's going to hurt the product. That's just my opinion. What else did they talk about? The Bellas, they actually admitted that WWE needs to build more stars as all the top stars are retiring and there isn't that many replacements. She thinks it's a bigger problem with the men. I believe that. And here's something else. Here, the Bellas did have something interesting to say here. And I agree with this. If they're going to be so behind the scenes, they need to figure out better how to blend reality with fiction. Because here's one thing why John Cena's heel turn was a flop last year, a year ago about. They did the big heel turn, right? At Elimination Chamber, they turned on Cody Rhodes, beat him up, blah, 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 blah. Half an hour later, The Rock broke kayfabe on the same YouTube channel where they showed the heel turn. The same YouTube channel, The Rock broke kayfabe. So at some point, we can't take... It's like, what do we believe? Like, you just, on the same exact channel, you, The Rock, just did something dastardly, and now you're on here talking about it. So you're not blending it together well. The Cena heel turn was a flop. You cannot say it was a success. So I agree. There's a big problem with wrestling today. How do we make it interesting if there's no more kayfabe? Or do you just make the whole thing more of a dramatic series where wrestling is just secondary and the main part of the series is the backstage stuff? That's something you have to consider, because the in-ring work is not very good either. And what else did the Bellas have to say? They consider themselves legends, and Logan kept calling them legends. Okay, they're in their early 40s. Have they ever done indies? The Bellas have never done indie shows, and I guess they're still legends, okay? Because basically their mom was going out with the former head of talent relations, Johnny Ace. No questions about that. That would have been an interesting question. But he was in charge when they were put in the Hall of Fame of who gets in the Hall of Fame. So I don't know. I don't consider them legends. I'm sorry. Nikki, they talked more about Unreal. They don't know if it helps. They admitted they don't know if it helps the product. Nikki can't understand why in movies you can break kayfabe, but wrestling you can't. Well, I just kind of went into it. Like, you're not watching a movie and then watching them on Jay Leno right after the movie or right before. I mean, it's a little bit different, and you're playing a wrestler for a long period of time too. Like, it's a job. Fans see the wrestlers in person. It's just different. It's different than movie. It's the same way that if you use a gun in wrestling, that's forbidden. Oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. How can they use a gun in wrestling? Well, why is that different in a movie? Why can't you play a racist character in wrestling and you can in movies? I don't get that. Because wouldn't that be entertaining? You have a racist guy that ends up getting beat up? Or a anti-homosexual guy that gets beat up? I'm just saying, that happens in movies all the time. But in wrestling, if someone did that, they'd be blackballed. So it is, I will take Nikki's point there, that yeah, it's weird that wrestling is so different than movies in some ways. And I get it. It's held to a different standard, but for whatever reason, I don't want it shoved in my face. And also, they don't in movies have fight scenes, then show them hugging, just being such baby. Oh, we just had a fake fight. Let's cry. Because we're a bunch of baby. And then they're showing people like Jelly Roll doing it. And it doesn't even look good when they're doing it, but making it seem like it's so easy that a big fat entertainer can do it. I don't know. They just make it look too easy. Logan said, oh yeah, and here's a good example of breaking kayfabe. The Royal Rumble just happened, right? Logan Paul says he was honored to be eliminated by Roman Reigns, and I guess he took a suplex by Brock. He said he was honored. Could you imagine Macho Man? I was honored that Hulk Hogan beat me at WrestleMania 5. Could you imagine that? Look how long the Macho Man's feud with Hogan was. It's just how clueless Logan Paul is. I mean, it just happened, right? Literally a day or two ago. And you're saying you were honored that Roman Reigns eliminated you. So why should I care? If you're just honored to be eliminated, why should I get behind you to even win the Royal Rumble? If it's happy enough for you, oh, well, Roman Reigns eliminated me, I'm honored. I don't know, man. I'm just not into it. Then you got AEW. Here's what I don't like about Tony Khan, okay? Britt Baker has not had a match since November 13th, 2024, apparently due to backstage heat with MJF. At one point, she was one of the top women in AEW, former women's champion. He was asked about her because they were at the hall, some hotel. They're now downgraded to like some like hotel. They weren't even at like a real arena. They're at some ballroom at a hotel or something for Dynamite tonight. By the way, they way overpay people, but yeah. Khan did a press conference where he was asked about Britt Baker, who hasn't wrestled for like a year and 4 months and is under contract. He said, quote, "Britt is somebody I really like and respect a lot. I definitely think as we evolve with more teams and single wrestlings, opportunities across multiple shows, now that we have 4 hours of TV with Dynamite and Collision, I think there's going to be more and more opportunities," end quote. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you used to have Rampage too? Didn't you used to have 5 or 6 hours? So you actually haven't increased. You've decreased. And your ratings are lower than ever? And you have people like Britt Baker that haven't worked for a year and 4 months, and you keep hiring more and more. So here's what I don't like about Tony Khan. Oh, I really respect her. I respect her, but I'm going to have her sit at home for a year and 4 months and do nothing. Because that's how much I respect her. I'm just going to have her sit at home and pay her to do nothing for a year and 4 months. That's just a lie. Why don't you just tell us the truth? She pissed off MJF's wife, and I'm better friends with MJF, so we're going to have her sit out the rest of her contract. Anyway, I don't like the fakeness. Why can't you just tell the truth? And he wishes Powerhouse Hobbs the best. Powerhouse Hobbs there on the far right, I guess back in around 2014. He did a security job for WWE as an extra. And now he's with WWE. So that was his ultimate goal. And again, Tony Khan seems to think AEW is evolving. He's lying again. You're evolving. You go from the MGM Grand to a ballroom at a hotel. The MGM Grand Garden Arena to now you're going to like a small venue in Las Vegas because you can't fill arenas anymore for the most part. So yeah, continue to evolve there. I'll go into a couple of your questions. Peace to everybody. Stay safe. By the way, I've been working hard for an event I'm working on that's not going to be too far from Montreal, Quebec this August. It's going to be very centrally located. I was at Olive Garden tonight, just finishing off my water after my workout. Not that anyone cares. Something about the memories, yes. Oh, I think this gentleman is talking about we need Nick Hogan and WWE to remind us of Hulk Hogan. Someone says, not a good look. I love Hogan, but Nick needs to stand back. Too many woke goofs will boo him. I honestly think Hogan was being booed more for shilling his beer. That Netflix Raw, speaking of this week's Raw that had like 3 matches in 2 hours, I watched that Netflix Raw. It was one boring promo after another. And I think Hogan was in like the 3rd hour and he's plugging his beer. After John Cena and The Rock gave long promos about Netflix. And there was a lot of advertisements and so forth. I think people were just like, they didn't have him do anything interesting. Someone says, dude should have gotten in earlier rather than hang around Blink 182. I don't think Nick wanted to be in the wrestling business. I think he's just being offered money to do it now because they're getting desperate. CM Punk is god-awful. I'm not a fan. And here's something interesting. It's going to be Punk against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And I just can't believe, like, how do people take Punk seriously after his UFC beatdowns? Like, I don't know. I know he's got talent and stuff, but the guy couldn't even beat like low-level guys in UFC. Even the second guy that he fought was just horrible. Tickets are too expensive. That's why only geeks go. Anyone that pays 25 grand, honestly, there's animals suffering out there. There's dogs in freezing cold shelters across the states right now due to recently uncontrolled, like ridiculously cold temperatures, even in Florida. There's just so much better things if you have that kind of disposable income. Instead of paying $25,000 for a wrestling ticket, save some lives. I don't know. Who am I to say? Because I've never had that much money to waste. I would never spend that. I would not go unless I had some sort of media pass to conduct interviews. I would have it's actually depressing for me to be around that because I worked my whole life to be a wrestler and I got my opportunity ripped away from me from Abdullah the Butcher, which I won 2 lawsuits over. So it just depresses me that I never got that opportunity. And then last year, I was supposed to cover some stuff in Las Vegas for WrestleMania, and I ended up getting hit by a car and got a very serious back injury. It was a horrible experience. and a very, very large medical bill. Punk is a complete clown. Nice to see you, big man. The new WWE is trash. I agree. I do not like it. We got a Joe Biden fan here. Oh, by the way, apparently there's going to be 2 more pay-per-views in Saudi Arabia this year because Saudi Arabia was so happy about the success of the Royal Rumble. It's like that's one of the things that turned me off. Again, it's all it's so choreographed now, and they keep exposing that and even showing the guy. If you haven't seen any of the Unreal, watch the one where there's this young new girl that's popular, and I forget her name, who wrestles Becky Lynch. And she has flops in the whole match. And again, they're charging $25,000 for tickets to SummerSlam. And they had a match that was full of botches. And then they show you that it's full of botches, but they still want to charge you all that money. Saudi Arabia makes all the women wrestlers cover up. Yeah. No, I don't... Triple H in WWE. I think he's overrated. I think Triple H is overrated for sure. But yes, I agree the product is rotten. Wrestling is less popular than ever per capita. That is the truth. There is less house shows now than ever. Both of the main companies are doing... AEW does no house shows. WWE does like 20 a year. Keep in mind they used to do 3 a night. There's no territories really other than Japan and Mexico. The independent scene isn't very healthy. So yes. Someone says, totally agree about the wrestling being dead. Someone says, my wife laughs when he turned into modern wrestling. Unreal helped confirm why she laughs. Braun Strowman, he had an infection, but he's going to be fine. There's no good characters anymore. I agree. The Bellas are not legends. It made me mad. See, Logan Paul, again, how can he even compare himself to AJ Styles? And I'm not the biggest AJ Styles fan, but if he sees this, my God. Logan Paul is not in your league. He's just a celebrity wrestler who now thinks he's actually worthy of being considered a legend because he's had choreographed matches for 5 years that he's been paid ridiculous sums of money for. Wrestling is supposed to be about guys that got their ass kicked in training, paid their dues, learned how to train, toiled on the independent scene, became good enough on the independent scene to get hired, worked their way up to make it, like AJ Styles did. It's not about people that start from the top and have everything handed to them. Do I think Vince is going to make a new product? Well, at this point, I believe that he is one of the top shareholders still, and he's in his 80s. Stephanie and Shane are involved with the company, so I doubt it. Have I met Vince? Yes. Met him several times when I was doing WWE extra jobs. The most memorable one was I was talking to Chris Benoit, and I've told this story before. He always wanted to know what was going on in Stampede Wrestling in Calgary. He was asking me about it because he was from Stampede. And Vince McMahon politely interrupted us and said, I have to steal Chris Benoit away from you. That was the extent of it. The social media. Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's just the social media. I just think it's not being presented properly. Someone says Nick needs to do it now. He can't mooch off of his dad. Well, the estate still goes to him, right? So the royalties and stuff will still go to him. Someone's waiting for Penta to win the royal title. AEW has a TV deal, but the TV deal is with WBD, which is being bought by Netflix this year. So it's come out that WBD actually owns a percentage of AEW. That's why they got such a good TV deal despite declining ratings. Is Netflix going to keep them around? I doubt it. I don't see anyone unless they just want to make a ton of money. I don't see anyone that has good value staying in AEW because it's on the decline. I really wouldn't. Brokeback Mountain. Why is that? Because I'm an actual bull rider? I don't think so. AEW is actually by far worse than WCW. WCW, first of all, was actually entertaining. It was far better booked. It wasn't run by a spoiled rich brat who lies to the fans. Oh, I love Britt Baker, but I've had her sitting at home a year and a half, but I respect her. Respect her enough to not let her out of her contract. Maybe she doesn't want to get out of her contract. Maybe she'd rather get paid for doing nothing. There's a lot of people in AEW getting paid for doing nothing. In WCW, it happened, but they weren't making anything close to what they make in AEW. Did Jay-Z do it? I don't know what he did. I once did security at Blues Fest in Ottawa at a Jay-Z concert. And my God, did I earn my money that day. When is the Nails interview? Well, I did have a long chat with him. He's actually very nice. I learned some stuff about him last week. My main thing right now that I'm working on is my event. I'm getting everything lined up. This is going to be a very big event. Taking place at an arena where WWE used to go to, actually. Where WWE has actually done TV tapings at. I'm going to do my own The Hannibal TV taping there this August. So I'm working on that and some interviews. I think the Nails one, though, Little Cherry, is it's going to have to be in person for the money that he wants, because he wants absolutely ridiculous money. Nick Hogan is too old to start wrestling for a guy who has no athletic ability. Piper's doing good. I miss her. Someone says CM Punk is gassed. Yeah. Well, look at Powerhouse Hobbs. No comment there. I'm just saying, look at Powerhouse Hobbs now compared to that picture I put up before. ESPN needs to dump WWE. Apparently, they're very unhappy with it. Someone is saying, I don't know if they're referring to me. Wrestling has no big production anymore. I think their actual production is bigger than ever as far as entrances and so forth. There's actually too much emphasis on production. Apparently, Violent J and Vince Russo, I'm happy they let me share some of their content. I wish they would use me in the company, but for whatever reason, they do not want me in the company. I've been more than saying it since October that I wanted to be there, but they'd rather fly PCO in from Montreal than me, who's right here in the United States. It's 20 years younger than PCO. It hurts my feelings. I'll tell them the truth on that. Where Vince Russo looked me right in the eye in Wichita and said, yeah, I remember you've booked me for a bunch of interviews and so forth. I'll see what I can do for you, but I guess I just don't fit into his plans. But I truly do wish them the best, and I do like PCO. He's another guy I've been talking to lately. Chelsea Green we got a Chelsea Green fan here. No, AEW is not run. I agree with CM Punk on this. AEW is not run like a business, and it will stay in business as long as the Khan families want it to. They're surrounded by yes men and people that tell them they're doing great because they're very happy with their paychecks. But it's just a game to them. They do not care about money. They just want a ton of people that they don't care if they're over or not. Hey, most of our roster is not over. Let's not give them more TV time. Let's bring more people in so there'll be even less TV time. That makes a lot of sense. They can get another TV deal, yes, but I guarantee you nobody's going to give them $180 million a year when they've been getting 0.02 ratings lately. Doubt it. The Bellas are the new Golden Girls, someone says. I mean, I find it insulting when they're called legends. AEW, well, Meltzer thinks they have great wrestlers. If you like gymnastics and leg slapping, and as Bobby Heenan says, you know, when you watch UFC, you see guys punch like that and kick like that, right? You know, UFC, you see these kicks all the time. The big leg slap that's very, according to AEW, Meltzer will tell you a good match involves a lot of flips, leg slapping, punches like that. You know, because that's what happens in a real fight. To me, good wrestling makes you suspend your disbelief. But the wrestling business has changed. It's not about wrestling anymore. Why don't you go work for Russo? There's a question. You guys that want to see me in JCW, ask those guys. I've told them I'll go in there. I don't know if their roster is afraid to wrestle me. I really don't. Maybe it's that. Because I'm not saying anything bad because they share content with me and stuff. So I wish them luck and I really thank them for that. But I could actually contribute a lot to their company. And anyone that's ever seen me wrestle would probably agree with that. But you don't need to tell me that. I know that I would be the number one heel they have. Let's be honest here. Big Vito, has anyone seen any of that stuff he's been doing? No offense, but what would happen in the shoot between me and him? Someone would rather have one promotion with everybody in it other than AEW. Well, don't expect that to happen. Someone says they need me to have me come in. It's not going to happen, guys. They're afraid of me. AEW does not like pushing big men. I agree. There you go. Flood Russo's and Violent J's messages. They're the bookers if you want to see me there, because again, I don't have any control. I've known Russo for a long time, but I've only recently been in contact with Violent J. He said he was going to do an interview with me, so hopefully he does one soon. Jacob Fatu, he's one of the better guys. I've met him many times. Good guy. It's probably the JCW locker room. Who knows? WCW should be recognized as a Puerto Rico wrestling promotion. I don't think WWC runs that much anymore. Where am I in the United States? I'm in Wichita, Kansas. Anyways, guys, no, I really hate Jack Kilby. He's a piece of shit. He's really a piece of shit. True piece of shit. And let's not end on a bad note. So cheers. Wish everybody a great night.